Yes, team. Welcome back to another episode of the Total Mental Performance Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. He's actually already been on the podcast. He's one of a number of people that were guests and then become Total Mental Performance clients. We have Mr. Brendan Meyers. He's the founder of My Coach AI, and what they are doing for coaches across their platform is absolutely phenomenal. The traction that they're starting to pick up is growing even faster than when we first spoke. So check out a link in the description, and you'll be able to go check out their stuff from there. But Brendan, mate, welcome back to the podcast. This time as a client.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited to be here. Share a little bit about what I've experienced and also the quality of leadership that I now am. I don't know the word, exuding or whatever the word is. It doesn't matter. It's cool. It's been awesome, man. I'm very grateful. I'm very happy for the work that we've done with Total Mental Performance, and yeah, bro, I'm excited.
Awesome. So today, Brendan's going to give you a highlight reel of his story. But if you actually want to go and hear more about, all right, I want a bit more depth behind Brendan and the journey that he's been on to get here, head to the previous episode in the Total Mental Performance Podcast. So however you access this podcast, just scroll down and go back and give that a listen. So Brendan, if you can give a highlight reel tour of who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive into some of the puzzles that you were solving throughout the process.
Yeah, entire life I was a high-level athlete. Grew up in Florida, the United States. So I played with some of the highest athletes in the world and in the United States. Played collegiate football, quit that, started YouTube at a very high level and grew 1 million in 6 months and essentially reached 500 million views across social media over that time frame. Then I started building different businesses to teach other coaches how to go online. And then I went into building other people's businesses in the industry, digital agency, my own facility, my own gym, and many other pieces to that. And then eventually it led me to software to build platforms for other people. And then one big platform for everybody in the industry through automation. And it's been absolutely powerful. That's My Coach AI. And for the last 3 years, I've had to really, really dig deep and be patient from a business standpoint. And it was soul sucking. It took everything out of me. I lost sight of myself. I lost sight of a lot of different things. My health has significantly been injured by it. And I would say the majority has come from emotional turmoil and complications with how I'm managing myself, what I'm believing in, and where I'm going. So now we are scaling My Coach AI, and we have investors knocking at our door. And just this past weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we had 21 or 22 coaches that signed on, and it's been nothing but a whirlwind, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, a whirlwind is the way to describe entrepreneurship. It is that I think I wrote a post not long ago, which was entrepreneurship's a little bit like bull busting, and you got to learn to get enjoyed getting kicked in the nuts, because you're always going to get kicked in the nuts, and if you haven't got the stomach for it and you don't really care about the problems that you're solving, you're going to end up flawed and you're going to not get up. But there are a few of us in the world that are just wired to actually kind of enjoy the pain, to try and suck it up and go, all right, come on then, let's go. And it's the resilience and the lessons that you pick up in that which really changes the game. But an area that we both know has often been overlooked in entrepreneurial development and leadership development is the mind, is mental performance, your emotion management, and that volatility. So why don't you paint a picture? Because there'll be a lot of people listening going, oh yeah, I remember that previous episode that you guys done. Like what could Brendan possibly have to work on? Why don't you paint a picture
Yeah.
going, yeah, this is what was flying around.
Yeah. So I felt like I couldn't catch up, but then I also felt like I couldn't get ahead, even when I was caught up. It just felt like a hamster wheel. And I don't know anybody listening has built any software, been a part of software companies or anything like that, but it takes everything out of you. And whenever you think that you need, let's say $10,000, you actually need $100,000. So it's like 10x whatever you're thinking. And so that's what it took as I was building it. And every day I would wake up with just the dream in mind. The idea of, okay, I can accomplish this. I'm an entrepreneur. I can do this. Keep going. However, I've never been tested on this level. And as I got deeper and deeper into it, and before I was working with TMP, I felt like something or someone was tugging at my emotional strings. Usually people say my heartstrings, my emotional strings. And in my business, I didn't know how to necessarily manage those. And so if something came across my desk, I would feel like I have to be in control. I have to be in control. And that's where it all started. And as the time has progressed, like right now, I'll just share how I'm feeling now. Instead of being like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, I'm just like, dude, it's another day. Like I'm in the driver's seat, and okay, if I need to take a few hours off, like what, it doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't hurt the business, rather than, oh my gosh, if I don't do this, then I have to keep going. And that was my energy all the time. It was just go, 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 go. Now I'm being tested in the same way in my personal life now, funny enough. And I'm practicing patience, which is what I was lacking in the business side of things. But now I have all the patience in the world on the business side of things, because I know that every step is just a step in the process. And if you take one step forward, I'm not taking a step backwards. I'm literally taking a step forward. So what is it really, Brendan, that I'm freaking out about or trying to get to quicker than it needs to? It's just control. I want to control the situation. I want to control the money. I want to control these things. And when I let go of the business, funny enough, these things started coming into play. The investors started knocking on the door. The sales started happening a little bit cleaner. And people started to really take control of their areas in the business. And because of that, and I allowed them the space to do what they needed to do, I wake up now with like no worry about the business. I wake up and I'll give an example. We're talking to an investor, and before I would like try and be messaging him more, like try so strategically how to get, but I'm just like, dude, if he wants to invest, he's going to invest. And if not him, then someone else is going to. Like, there's no way. This is the same cycle I've been in for 3 years. Like, there's no way we're gonna be falling through. Like, there's no way. I'm the leader. I'm the CEO. I'm the guy in charge. There's no way. And so that's the way that I approach these things, with a calmness and a patience. And I allow the space for my team to do what they do. Before, I would not fully give the space. I would try to imprint myself in some area and be like, oh, Brennan's here, remember SOPs. But now I'm just not. Yeah. That's the difference. That's the big difference here.
Yeah, you've really stepped into your kingship of going, well, I've got the kingdom and I've got the right people in the kingdom, and I'm going to give them the space to step up and lead. Because often, I mean, top talent doesn't want to work with micromanagers. They just don't. You need to give them enough guidance to point them in the right direction, and enough freedom for them to go and own that and take that and make it their baby. And you're really able to do that. If we go a layer deeper, where did that need for control come from?
Lacking worthiness. Like I wasn't worth what people say I am, for example. Like, I'm not worth $1 billion company. I'm not worth to be a CEO. I'm not a CEO. I'm not a king. Even though people think I am or imagine that I am, or the way that I walk around, or the way that it appears on the outside. A lot of lack. Like, I lack this, I lack this, I lack that. I'm not worthy of this. I'm not worthy of that. Oh, well, of course they don't want to invest because they don't believe me. I can't explain it properly, so they won't believe me. They don't understand. But the less that you say is the more that people understand. It's so funny. It's like the less that you need to say is the more that people want to know, right? And the less that you actually say is the more that people learn and recognize your actions for what you're doing, and they buy into that. So that's what I would say is that was like my biggest issue is just the worthiness. Uh, I remember a long time ago when I was younger, I would leave conversations. This is due to relationships with my brother. He's 2.5 years ahead of me, kind of a weird amount, like not 2 years, he was like 2.5, almost 3. So it's like not 4 years so far away and not 2 years. So we were in just a weird state of brotherhood. And I would leave conversations and groups and I would feel like I am the one wrong, no matter what. Like I did something wrong. I was the bad guy because he would kind of like mess with me and joke with me, and then all of his friends would pick on me because I just would never say the right things. I was never the 14-year-old. I was the 11.5-year-old, right? And that carried along in my business, and that's what affected my worthiness and all this stuff. So I've been able to, with TMP especially, dig back deep into, and it wasn't even that difficult, I would say. It was a simple process that we did. And within one day, I was like, oh, shit, that is something that's a big issue, but I can get through it. And I did it pretty efficiently. And that allowed me to recognize that, look, man, this is the business. I'm worth all of this. And this is just the beginning. And there doesn't need to be a lot of pressure on it. And now look at where we are. Like we really are. Like, Kieran, we haven't talked in a while, but like my business is really doing well. And when we raised the capital, for example, we raised a certain amount of capital, and we were raising like a total of 800,000. And we raised a certain amount that shouldn't have taken us to where we are now. Not even close. Any other software company, the majority of them, would need way more money, and it would take way less time pulling all of their money out of the bank, right? And they would run out of money. Us, no, we still have it. And we're closer and closer to profitability. And I really believe that, one, this was inevitable regardless. And so if I just trusted in it the entire time, and I was like, all right, I'm worthy of it inevitably succeeding, then why do I even have to put the stress and the pressure on myself? And because I've adjusted in my business life, I'm not saying my personal life is great right now. I'm struggling with certain things and I'm being challenged and tested. However, my business life, there doesn't need to be extra stress. And that's what I was able to do. I was able to remove that stress a ton. And now I'm kind of just like, it's like weird. It's weird. I feel like, well, where is the stress? I'm confused. I'm usually supposed to feel very, very stressed after the workday. Or like I always feel like I have to do more in the workday. But like, why don't I feel like I have to do more today? Why do I not feel that heaviness after work? And I'm like, well, shit, that's good. I don't have to worry about the why not. Why is it not there, right? Just accept it and cool. Let's keep rocking.
Yeah, and there were some hard conversations, mate. There were some really, really hard conversations that we dived into to understand, all right, well, what's really going on underneath the hood? Because in the world of mindset, mental performance, and performance, a lot of people start working on a surface level. Yeah, but Brendan, you just need to look at like your daily routine, or yeah, but you just need to start doing a bit more journaling. But they don't actually realize that on an energetic level, there's usually a fear or unworthiness that's underpinning a lot of decision making. And I think I shared the metaphor with you. If I didn't, and correct me, but I think I remember me saying to you, what happens when you chase butterflies? Can you remember this conversation?
No, I don't think you ever did with that one with me.
Perhaps not. I say this to a lot of my clients. You tell me, what happens when you chase? If you see a butterfly and you run at it, what happens?
It darts the other way very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. So let's say for you, the butterflies are investors. For other of my clients, maybe it's new clients is the butterfly, right? So if we want to attract butterflies, well, what do we need to do?
Be calm, patient, allow them to come to you.
We need to build a garden that's so calm, so patient, so attractive that a butterfly sees the garden and it's like, well, there's loads of flowers in there. I've definitely got to go fly over in that direction. And I believe this to be the same in business, in sales, and whatever it is. If you're running around chasing butterflies all of the time, they're going to fly away. So you've got to create a garden that is so rich and full of nurture and nourishment that the butterflies can't come in. So for those that don't necessarily think in that abstract way, you go, what the fuck are you on about, Kieran? Well, you need to have an energy and a confidence and a backing and a belief and a feeling of abundance that you attract that into your world versus chasing that away. And that's really what I saw with you actually quite early on, because earlier on in the process, it was all business this, business this, business this, business this, business this. And as we started to crack through that, and this often happens with my clients, is my clients come to business problems, but it's actually driven by personal problems. It's perceived business problems, but it's personal problems that are getting in the way. And then once they shift their personal problems, they then start attracting a lot more business and things start flowing. And then they stop talking about the business. And that's often how I know that clients are doing really, really well, is they stop talking about that stuff. So when you make those shifts, the way in which you operated just completely changed. And whenever I'd ask you about the business, you're like, yeah, that's fine. That's easy now. Whoa, hang on. It wasn't always that way. And it was a lot of deep introspective work that did that. Why don't you share some insights as to some of the sessions or some of the techniques that we use to help you get there, particularly with, say, your brother, for example?
Yeah, just like visioning, me being there and forgiving, but also asking and wanting to hear the other side of it, like getting into the mind of him, even though he wasn't there. It's like painting the picture and living an imaginary scenario out that feels and hits home for me. Because a lot of what we believe is stories. They're stories that we tell ourselves. And so if we can tell ourselves a story and it impact us in a negative way, then we can tell ourselves a story and it can impact us in a positive way. And so from what I know of my brother, the most that I know of, I was able to have conversations with him and recognize that and grow from it and accept what was done and what wasn't, and know that there's not, that weight is not on me anymore. It's not pulling me down. It's just something that I can recognize. So that and certain meditations and certain things to recognize, like certain journaling prompts and pieces. It was all very, very easy to do. Like it wasn't a difficult process to do. It was quite simple. It was challenging in ways, like it challenged me, and that's what got me to where I am. But it wasn't like, oh, I have to do all this homework and do all these things. It was like, so many times I walked away, I was like, really? That's it? Like anything else? And like, he's like, no, I just want you to do that. Okay. And then I came back and it was chill. It's good.
Simple scales, complex fails. So often people think it's all of this flashiness stuff. It's all of these various different intricate routines or all of this flashy stuff. But often the sign to me of not just a good coach, but an absolutely fucking great coach is the ability to create the most amount of change within the least amount of questions or the least amount of tasks. Because anyone can throw loads of shit at a wall and just keep and do this 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 and do this. But that's just noise. So from where I sit, I'm always thinking, okay, what is the question? Because the question itself is the answer. What is the question I can ask that's going to generate the most amount of change in this moment? And then it's the same with the homework. What's the least amount of homework I can give Brendan that's going to generate the highest return on his time, that's going to generate the most amount of change? And what you'll also look at is the top athletes in the world, the top managers, coaches, anyone in those competitive fields, is they often keep stuff really, really simple. If you ever watch Shark Tank, how simple are they speaking? They are speaking so simple. And in a world that's highly complex and noisy, those that can communicate in a very simple way and generate life-changing results in very simple ways, that is where the gold lives. That is where life-shaking change happens. That's where companies are built and they grow. It's the ability to simplify the complex. whenever I look at my mentors, many of them in their 50s and 60s, they've just got to a point where they've simplified so much where they'll ask one question or one little journaling thing. And you're, oh, fuck, that was so simple. How could I have not got it? But hindsight's 2020 vision. Hindsight's perfect vision. It's like, oh, of course, but you have to figure that out as you go. And you did a great job because I'd give you homework. You'd say, is that it? And I'd be like, yeah. You're like, you sure? Like, there's not more I can do? I'm like, no, just do the work. And you did it. And look at how things change, which couples in with your tattoo on your neck, which was patience. Oh, if that's it. Okay. Patience.
It's the same shit I'm struggling with my personal life too right now. And you know what? That's not even the word that I can use. I'm not struggling with it. I'm being challenged with it. And that is when you are the opposite of something, man, that's a challenge within itself. It's like, it's not about all the stuff to do. It's like, well, no, I'm the opposite. And there's a lot of change to be done and a lot to work on. So that's the most difficult part, especially now in my life. Personally, it's patience in the personal life. It's like I was screening it as, or I was masking it as my business issues, but it wasn't. It was always my personal issues. And now I'm closer to my personal issues, like you were saying. And I recognize them so much. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I got a lot of work to do on my personal life, like more, deeper. Well, my business is great. So there's that.
Well, beforehand, you were wrestling with both your personal life and your professional life. And there was a lot of chaos and a lot of noise. So
Exactly.
for me, my key objective whenever I'm working with a founder, entrepreneur, coach is, right, well, how do I just get them stable in their work? Because that's going to simplify a hell of a lot for them to go away and go and do the deeper personal work on their personal lives that they need. So that was really my objective. And when I saw you get to that place and you started moving, I was like, great, he's now got the space to go and do the work on his personal side. But look, what's funny about ambitious entrepreneurs is I find it hilarious is we find, and I put myself included in that bracket, like the work stuff's actually kind of easy. Like, yeah, it's hard and there's chaos, but it's kind of easy. And they find their personal lives really difficult. Like when I think I can't imagine finding my work life hard and my personal life easy. I just can't. I just can't compute that.
Yeah, me
But
neither.
right, so that's normal because we're obsessive and we focus and we get drawn in and we just want to go and go and go and go and go. That's okay, but it's once you've got the business ducks in a row, it's like, right, okay, well, how do I actually want to live? And sometimes there is a period of sacrifice where you just got to fucking suck it up and you just go, you know what, this sucks. I'm just shoveling coal in the fire and the fire's not taking off, and everything takes an impact. Your happiness, your health, your personal relationships. And then when you finally break through that, and you're like, oh, fuck, I've got to work on my personal stuff now. But that's really normal.
I kind of, that's one thing out of all the stuff that we work together is one thing I kind of like, I agree with in ways, but I also don't, because I believe that we have to get clear really much so on what we actually want in our lives. And if we're clear that we want our business to get to X point, and we're very clear on that, and we're like, through and through, this is what I want, then yes, like you got to sacrifice, you have to do whatever it takes to get there for a certain amount of time. Obviously you don't want to kill yourself, but then again, like if you think about Navy SEALs, what do? They train, they say something about their training, like every time they train, it is like they can actually die in their training. Like that's what they do, so that when they get into the real life situation, it's the exact same thing or less. And obviously it becomes more, but you get the point. And so they are willing to die in their training. They're willing to die for their objective, right? So I do agree in a way. Many years ago, I would be willing to die for the objective. Now in 2024, it's like, to die for my objective, like it's kind of crazy to say that the rest of my life I'm going to sacrifice my entire health for my business because I want X, Y, and Z. Like, yeah, maybe an investor wants that in a person, but also I think a great CEO is able to recognize that as being a strength rather than a weakness, knowing that, hey, I don't need to sacrifice myself all the way to ends earth. I can be more strategic, more patient, more intelligent with the process and get to my goal the same exact way as I would be pushing the hell through. That's my thought on it now. And I to be honest, Kieran, I didn't recognize that before I was working with you as much, but I recognize it more through us working together. And that's great. Like, you have one idea of it, but I got more clear on my ideas through our work together. And I think that's what's most important. It's like reading a book. It doesn't matter how you take it and I take it. What matters is if we took it in our own ways, even if we read one sentence and it turned into crazy ideas for me and it didn't anything for you, that's still fine. I achieved what I needed from that book and you did as well. And that's what I look at the coaching as.
Well, what I noticed is you matured a hell of a lot very quickly.
Yeah.
Because you were at that place before, and not every entrepreneur is like that. Like, not everyone's so black and white, but you moved out of that place of I'm willing to die for my objective to realizing actually there's more to it than this. But it doesn't matter who you are. There are always moments where you got to go, you know what? I've got to go back into the trenches now. I've got to put my big boy pants on and suck it out for a period of time. But there are some people that will continue down that. And I don't believe in those levels of extremes, by the way. I don't think it's sustainable. I think when you're, 20, 21, 22, you've got nothing to lose. And you're like, fuck it, yeah, let's go. I think everyone has that in them. But as you start to mature and get older, you kind of realize maybe there's more to it than that. But I do believe in horses for courses. And, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And the lessons that we pick up in those moments can just be, I came for this, but I actually got this. And I've had that many, many, many times. And people often think it's the business that will make them happy and fulfilled and content. And they often forget that they're a human being outside of their business. And they get so wrapped up in that. But to actually think objectively outside of that and go, well, how do I actually want to exist? Oh man, that's where the fun starts. How do you actually want to exist? How do you want to spend your time? And I remember having those conversations with you and you told me, I want to do dancing. I want to learn guitar. I want to do other stuff. And as you start to get clear on that personal vision and you can align it with your business vision, well, then that's where you are in true alignment, because you're using your business as a vehicle to create a life and a way of being that's interesting and fun with challenge, to then drive a personal vehicle. And eventually that becomes one, and that is existence or total mental performance across all fields. And that takes time, that takes tears, and that takes difficult conversations. And it's saying goodbye to the parts of you that no longer serve you. And as I've seen you grow and develop over the last few months, you've said goodbye to many parts of that weren't serving you anymore. And I can see sense of lightness.
Yeah, and I would also say, yes, there's a lightness. I would also say do not make emotional decisions if it's not necessary. Sometimes you have to. But like, I could tear up right now about it. Do not make emotional decisions, because it can affect you and make you suffer so much more. In my personal life, I made a decision with you, and I don't mind bringing it up, but it was my decision. It wasn't your decision. But you were like, Brennan, there's no maybes in your life. Like, you can't continue with maybes. And I took that conversation, and immediately I just started. I was talking to a girl. I live in Argentina for a long time. And I was like, all right, I'm not gonna stay in this mamie land with this girl anymore. Like, we've been in a situationship. They call it a chongo here in Argentina. And it's like, I'm not going to stay in this maybe land. I need to make decisions. I need to get to my business goals. Right. And from the emotion of the call, I got off the call. I messaged this girl, got on a FaceTime with her. It was basically like, make a decision. You either want to be with me or you don't. Like, we're either getting in a relationship or we're not. Got in a relationship. 2 days after, I broke it off because I felt like it was too fast. And it's because my emotion finally like caught up, and I was like, whoa, Brennan, what are you doing? What's going on? And guess what? That has been effing me up ever since. And now I'm suffering through certain things because of my emotional decisions. And I'm correcting a lot of this stuff, and there's a lot of good that's coming from it. But at the same time, one small decision can create havoc for a long freaking time. And that's one of the main things that I've learned about business is I used to be a long, long time ago emotional. I was, not only with my team, but also the decisions I would make in the business, the moves I would make, whether it was ads, putting money here, responding to a customer. But all it takes is one deep breath in and one deep breath out. And then saying, is this, like asking yourself, is this the right decision? Is this in alignment with my ultimate goal? And if it is not, it's going to tell you so quickly, yes or no. And then you make a decision. And that's one thing I've learned from you is like, is a decision necessary right now? Is it really going to affect me positive or negatively in this moment right now if I make it? Or can I wait and can I be patient? And so I wanted to say that because it's something that, again, I am suffering through right now. But also it's been one of the greatest blessings because I'm practicing a level of patience in my personal life that I never have before. I'm in a situation with a woman, a good one, where my patience is being tested through and through, like the deepest it can be. And I would have never been in this situation if I didn't make that decision a long time ago. And I didn't make that mistake. So it's also a good thing.
Well,
that's the way you look at it.
Every decision adds into the subconscious algorithm of your decision making, right? So yeah, what you said there is absolutely solid. Do not make decisions when you're emotional. Because guess what? Strong emotions make us stupid. They cut down our time frames, they cut down our options, and then all of a sudden, it's got to be this or this or this or this or this or this or this. So it's being able to take that pause and go, okay, if I am going to get out of maybe land, what does my head tell me? What does my heart tell me? What does my gut tell me? What does my soul tell me? Because maybe land is the thing that creates distraction and creates noise, and it goes round and round and round and round and round and round and round. But it's your ability to sit in maybe land, be calm, and then make the decision. But if you can't sit in the calm, and that maybe land is destroying you, and then you pull the trigger, then you're going to be in trouble. So sometimes you need constraint. Right, I need to make a decision on this in a certain period of time, whether it's 1 week, 2 weeks, 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever that is. But if you find yourself racing and you feel like you're running out of time, and very rarely are there decisions that have to be made within hours or minutes or whatever. It's just you tell yourself a story. It's got to happen now. Bang, you're out of control. Yeah. So whether that's your personal decisions, your professional decisions, it's sitting in the chaos, observing the chaos, not being in the chaos, and then going, right, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to get into maybe land? Because if you have, I like calling it tab theory. This is something I've been writing about in my book. So Kieran's tab theory, I've just gone very blurry. Kieran's tab theory is essentially the idea that if you have too many tabs open, just like on your computer browser, and you're stressed and you're worried and you're emotional, you might as well be holding a command shift and you're switching between tabs. And every single tab represents a maybe or a decision. And there'll be some tabs that you just can easily just go, no, click, done, don't need that. And there'll be some tabs you go, I'm going to have to sit on that one for a little bit here. I really want to click yes or no, but I got to sit on that. And when you're flicking between tabs and you're emotional and you're stressed and you're worried, it's, am I in the right frame of mind to make a decision? And a very simple tool that you can use, I don't know if I shared this with you, Brendan, or not, but I want you to think about somebody that you mentor or you coach or you look after, or maybe like a little brother figure or a little sister figure. And what you do is you imagine they've lived the same life, with the same problems, with the same experiences that they've had as you. And you advise them in that moment, what would you do? Would you make a decision now, or would you pause?
Yeah.
And then, because nobody knows your situation better than what I know,
You're great,
right?
Kieran. You're great, dude. You're fucking good, bro. Like, you're good. I love this because, like, I have to say this, and try and fix your camera, bro. Try and fix your camera as I'm speaking at this. Like, what you're saying is, like, every time I talk to Kieran, if you're listening, like, every single time I talk to this freaking guy, he's so on point and in alignment with what I'm needing to hear or what I'm wanting to hear. It's like both a want and a need. It's like both things. And when he mentions, like, for example, he's talking about this and even the time frame of making a decision. I wish I waited on that decision a while ago, and I wasn't so intense with it and aggressive, and because it would have done so much for me. At the same time, now the decisions that I'm making today, I'm hearing what Kieran's saying, and I'm like, yeah, like I need to do exactly what Kieran is saying. Is many times we have all these tabs, and we're like, all right, well, I need to, I'm going to go to this tab, and I need to make a decision on this one ASAP. But actually, you don't need to make a decision right away. It's just our emotion is telling us that we do. And actually, the more that we live in the emotion, like actually observing it and being in it, understanding where it's coming from. Hey, why is this here? Even though it might last for so much time, it feels like it, at least. We might do one thing for 60 minutes and it lasts like a hard workout. A 60-minute workout that's really, really hard lasts forever, and it's hell. But a 60-minute session of doing something that we're passionate about goes by like this. And so it's like, what is the biggest difference? Well, let's find out. Let's learn more. Well, it's pulling on certain strings inside of our minds and our hearts and our emotion. And so recognizing that is okay, and understanding that we're strengthening certain pieces inside of those, whether it's the heartstrings or whatever it might be, to then be more powerful leaders, be more powerful kings, or the kingship, like you say, or the queenship. If you're a woman, it's totally game. And that is what I hear you saying, Kieran. And that's what I think is so valuable for people to really understand is, dude, you might be suffering right now, or Dudette, you might be suffering right now. It's okay. I'm suffering right now. I am. And it's okay. I'm not going to make a decision or do something that's going to ruin the suffering. I'm going to keep on going through it because it will not last forever. It just might last for quite a while, and that's okay.
Oh man, that makes me emotional. Because whenever I hear my clients playing that back to me, which is not being afraid to suffer and being at peace with suffering, it's like, how can you be at peace with suffering? But when I hear that, that is the student becomes the teacher moment. And it makes me emotional because as people, we're just running away from suffering. And truly strong souls and individuals are able to bear their suffering and love it anyway. They're able to look at their suffering in the eye. They're able to look themselves in the eye and go, yeah, this is, this hurts. This hurts. But I can still be the king or the queen. And I can still breathe and I can still be in control. And that's really what total mental performance is all about. It's not the absence of suffering. On the contrary, it's your ability to suffer and perform anyway. It's your ability to feel pressure and chaos and noise and still show up and still deliver. And that doesn't matter if that's in your business, for your team, or if that's in your personal life, for your relationship, and for your family. So when you said that, that's how I know that the teachings and the principles for you are truly landing. So I can,
in this moment, you know what I'm going to do right now? So I'm somebody that, like, I'm an adult. I feel I'm quite mature. I'm also immature in many ways, but I don't want problems. I don't want sticky situations. I just don't want any issues. And I feel when I allow it's like an ego game. It's like that's really what comes up during suffering and stuff as well. It's like, oh, my ego needs it. My ego needs to feel fulfilled or happy, or it needs the key now. But sometimes the key is still being prepared, and it won't fit in the actual door that you're trying to get into because it's not ready. And it needs to be shaped up a little bit more, a little bit longer. And in this moment, as I was saying, I'm actually going to message somebody who, like, I posted something on my social media. Like, I have a private account, like a Spanish one. So I live two different lives. I have one in Spanish and one in English. And my Spanish one is down here in Argentina. And he's a person from the United States, but lives down here as well. And he felt like offended by something I said about like gringos or white people or international people living here in our area. And I'm going to take him out to dinner, and I don't want any issues with anybody. Like there's no reason. I was kind of just putting it to the side. I'm like, dude, like I didn't mean this at all. Like, nobody else messaged me or was upset by it. Like it was just like a fun, people that know me. He doesn't know me, and so now I'm going to go do that. And I feel like that is also living in like it's a chronic suffering that we just put to the side, and we're like, yeah, like this might bother me a little bit on the side, like my relationship or whatever it might be, and we just leave it there. And then it, like, you walk by this person, or you walk into this event, or you buy something from this company, and you feel, it's like little micro feelings. You feel it like in a micro way. You feel it. And soon enough, it's a macro. It's not a micro, it's a macro. And it's much bigger because we've just kept on putting it to the side rather than working with it, putting our ego to the side, suffering in it a little bit. Like there's suffering in taking responsibility. Like 100%. There is suffering in taking responsibility and ownership. That's what kingship is. And that is what I feel is also a huge piece to nail in here on this podcast, is like whatever we are putting to the side, like even if you feel something wrong with your health, go and just get it checked out, because that micro can turn into something macro, or it could be getting taken care of right now. Same thing with your business. There might be someone that you're going to fire eventually, but like you don't want to hurt their feelings or whatever it might be. We need to make the decisions. You don't have to make it emotionally based off of this podcast like I did with their personal relationship. But if you take the space and time and put a little game plan together to then do what you need to do, and then suffer through the feelings that you might feel after doing that, it won't create a macro. And that's what I believe is very important.
What you just described there in my tab theory, which I'm still right, it's really hard to write. I'm finding it really, I'm going to solve the metaphor so I can say it eloquently. I call that a rotting tab. So you got all your tabs open, and that one that you're ignoring is just rotting, and it's creating noise and it's creating problems. And sure, it's only a little bit rotted a little bit at the beginning, but then it gets worse and worse and worse and worse until it becomes this really smelly tab when you go click on it, and oh my God, it's got all this pressure, all this noise, all this distraction, everything that's going on. So you're better off just dealing with it, getting it done. And once you get it done from a place of what you just described, there was unconditional love, which is no ego. It's putting the ego aside and going, all right, what does this situation actually need? Let me just nip this in the bud. Actually, you know what? This is just rotting, and it's growing and it's growing, it's growing, it's growing. But when you have 1,000 tabs open, it's really difficult to understand which one to open and which ones to close and which ones are there. So from where I'm sat, it is just dealing with it, being self-aware. And that's why part of the practice I was getting you to do was the daily journaling and reflecting on how have you traditionally been and how do you actually want to show up instead. And that gentle reflection, it becomes really clear. Oh, that's why I am like I am. Oh, I'm showing up as that guy again. Let me close that tab. Or, that's really where we talk about the observer. And that's really when you can become the observer and really understand the internal dialogue that's going on. Do things really change? Do you want to play a quick game on that?
Sure, let's do it.
So, you know that little voice inside of your head when you're thinking?
Yep.
Is it your voice or is it someone else's voice?
Interesting question. Let me think about this. Many times it's not my voice. It's people's voices on the outside. Things that I listened to or something I observed on a YouTube video or whatever it might be. Yeah, it might be something outside many times.
But you can control what it's saying, right? So when that little voice in your head, I want you to say hello and just keep saying hello and hello, 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 and change the voice and make it bigger or smaller. Maybe it might be words, maybe it might just be nothing. But just play with that because you can change that internal dialogue.
Yeah, like you can make it into anything that you want. It's like infinite. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, sometimes it catches you off guard. You fucking shouldn't be like that. What the fuck is going on? And it can become this inner critic. Well, this is like an internal roommate that you've got going on that's always there. And it's always got something to say. And it can be really tiring, especially when you start to take it seriously. So what you're describing to me is you're starting to get to a place where you're starting to kind of go, hang on a minute. I don't need to take this all so seriously. And actually, that's the ego voice coming up. And I need to put that aside because the reality is I want to connect with my friend and I want to build that. And when you can get that level of awareness and that understanding of that internal dialogue, that's really where we're talking about being in charge of the king, not the anxious magician, not the people pleasing lover, and not the aggressive warrior. That isn't necessary. It's no, okay, I'm going to challenge that. And we can start to put our egos aside and we can start to operate out of what we actually want. And that's always a difficult question to answer sometimes. But when we actually want what our heart wants, what our souls wants, and on top of what our minds wants as well, because that is important, well, then that's where you start to really attract the things that you want. But often when you're chasing the things that you think you want, that you've hoodwinked yourself through that internal narrative that you weren't aware of, well, that's when you start behaving in ways where you start to self-sabotage. And that might be as simple as being a little bit too controlling or sending too many messages or showing up at certain times or behaving in certain ways and speaking in certain ways. So you've done a great job at rewiring that internal narrative and going, hang on, maybe I don't need to answer this right now. Or is that me or is that my ego speaking? Okay. Whereas before it was happening so fast, the speed from which stimulus came in, emotional response and then decision, or emotional response and then action, you didn't have that space. And what we've done is we've created that space for you to sit in and go, hang on a minute. Do I really need to make the decision right now? And sometimes we're going to make some shit decisions for us to realize, okay. That's what they mean by taking a breath. That's what they mean by taking space. That's what they mean by taking a pause. Okay. And the more decisions that you make, the more experience that you get, the better your algorithm becomes for making your decisions. So, yeah, this has been awesome, mate. I've deeply enjoyed this podcast.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you wanna share or even just ask me?
I don't think it's so much about asking you. Like you know your shit when it comes to like being a high performer and becoming better in your business and really recognizing it. Your first couple sessions were the most powerful for me, like for sure. They shifted so much in me. Really, really was powerful. And I thank you a lot for the adjustments and everything that I learned. I already knew it, but it's like you were the perfect guided hand in this moment for my business. And I thank you. And you're very honest. You're like, hey, I'm going to create this space for you where you can step into and be a high performer. And that's what you did. And you're like, hey, if you need to work on more personal life stuff, like deeper personal life stuff, then speak with somebody that is going to be great for you. And that's what I appreciate the most is like I came to you to enhance my business and to be a high performer, and I got exactly what I asked for. And so thank you. And what I would tell anybody else is if you're on edge with doing it, I would just do it because the amount of weight, like I would rather have less weight on my shoulders on one side than having having both of the weights on both sides because I'm like trying to handle both of them at the same time, right? Reducing one side can now allow us to then focus on the other side. It's like, all right, well, if you have a back injury and you have a shoulder injury and you have an ankle injury, okay. Yeah, you can work on all three of them at the same time. And there are professionals that can do that. However, start with one and get better in one and then move to the next. And I feel like that's where I'm very thankful. So I would say buy in, give it all you got. And if you're a business owner, trust the process, trust yourself, and keep moving forward. Even when you feel like you can't anymore, you're suffering too much, that's when you should relax. Truly.
The ability to sit in one's suffering and do what's required anyway is really the hallmarks of a high performer. And that's one thing we are at TMP is we're transparent and we're honest. So when we got to the beginning of the process, you were in what we call the foundations phase. The foundations for you was how do we get him to step into his kingship so he feels abundant and strong and in control, even if there's chaos going on around him. And those were the key shifts that enabled you to move forward on the business. Now, we can help on the personal side, but there does come a point where you look at it and you go, well, hang on, that wasn't his objective. He didn't come here to actually go, can you come and sort out my personal life? You came here to be a top business performer so you could scale your company and go and attract investors, and off you did. And that's what you did. So sometimes, and I've seen this a lot, it's the rise of the every coach. And what I mean by the rise of the every coach is it's coaches that believe they can coach everything. I'm a business coach and a mindset coach and a financial advisor and a relationship coach and a this and a this and a this and a this and this. And sure, you might have opinions on certain areas, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a mentor, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're qualified, experienced, or actually in the right place to give that advice. So you're often in a better place going, you know what? This is my bit. And you create the change required there, and then you bring on board other specialists because you'll create the space for them to go and do other work that they need. Otherwise, in my view, that's just disingenuous, and it's not transparent, and it's just do anything to just make it. Yeah, but I can kind of advise on this and do a bit on this and do a bit. It's like, yeah, sure, but it's a very unqualified opinion. So for me, that's what you came for. It's how do I become the best business leader that I can, and that's where we got you. So now we've created the space because there's not so much chaos going on both sides for you to go and explore that more personal side. And from my side, mate, yeah, I'm infinitely proud of what you've done and what you've achieved. And whenever my clients go through the process, I always look longingly, just look at them go. I really look at them go. And clients I've coached from years ago now, and I see where they're at, and I get an email or a text or just bump into them at an event or a show, and they're like, fuck, man, like that, I don't even blink at that anymore. And that was one of the handbrakes that you just let that handbrake off and you push on that accelerator and off it goes. And I can really see that happening for you. It's actually frightening to think about where you'll be at the end of this year, having let those handbrakes go. So great work, Brendan.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. Where can everyone find you?
Just type in my name, Brendan Meyers, BrendanMeyers. I'll pop up. I have a pretty unique name, I would say. So you'll find me.
And if there's some coaches that want to jump on My Coach AI, where should they head?
Just mycoachai.com. That's it. We have a little demo on there and everything. We automate the repetitive tasks so you no longer need to work as much as you are, and you get to serve your clients at a very high level. And we have consolidated all the platforms into one. And we're smarter, faster, and genius. Yeah, mycoachai.com.
Beautiful. All right, team. Well, look, if you enjoyed this episode, please do share it to your stories. Drop us a tag, drop us a follow, and make sure that you subscribe. And I'll catch you all in the next episode.